Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Stephen Schnee and Richard Henderson to the show. Tonight we're going to take a look at the Elektra albums by the power pop band Shoes. They did 3 albums for Elektra: Present Tense, Tongue Twister, and Boomerang. We're going to look at these records, do a brief review, have a general discussion. So without any further ado, let's get this one started. Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are looking at the American power pop band Shoes. I want to welcome Stephen Schnee and Richard Henderson here tonight. Gentlemen, how are you? And are you ready to talk some power pop and the band Shoes?
I certainly am. To get my shoes on, absolutely.
Get your shoes on and get ready. So Shoes were a band that started in 1974. They were influenced by the British invasion. They've been called power pop, though. When they started, that term wasn't available. But you listen to that first Elektra album. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I'm getting all away from myself. What we are going to look at tonight are the Elektra albums. So they put out 3 Elektra records, but they had also had some independent releases prior. We're not going to look at those. We are just going to look at the major label releases tonight. So, oh yeah, there's the box set, right?
Yes, this is the box set that Cherry Red put out.
Go ahead and show that while we're talking about it.
Yes.
And here's and anyway, while we're showing stuff, here's Black Vinyl Shoes. This is the Sire pressing and import. This is what came out prior to the Elektra records. This is a great record at all. We're not talking about this one, but be aware that it's out there. And also there's a Cherry Red box set of that. That's what Steve's holding down there. Excellent stuff. Check it out.
Yeah,
there you go.
It features the Black Vinyl Shoes album plus their previous albums as well, or a Bazooka, one in Versailles, and then some rarities on it as well.
Now I do know that the Elektra, I was looking online today. This is out of print.
Yeah.
I don't know if the first box set is still in print on Cherry Red, but the Elektra releases, it's out of print. So
it's a shame.
It is a shame.
Got that really cool live concert on it, Shoes on Ice, which the record company blocked them from releasing back in the day. That's really cool. Apparently it was in an ice skating rink or something.
I did have a promo 12-inch of that, white label.
Oh, okay.
If anybody watched our show last week with Stephen Schnee, we did the beat. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Stephen Schnee. He's going to talk a little bit about Shoes, get us rolling, and then we are going to start talking about these Elektra records. So, Mr. Schnee, you want to get us started on this?
Well, all I want to say is, Shoes formed in 1974, as we were discussing. Yeah. It's brothers Jeff Murphy on guitar and vocals and John Murphy on bass and vocals. Their longtime friend Gary Klebe on guitar and vocals, and then Skip Meyer on drums. And they were more, I think, like some of those classic 60s bands where, it wasn't just one guy up front. It was 3 really strong singer-songwriters. And to the point where every album, if you were a John Murphy fan, you knew that your favorite 4 songs on every album was going to be John's. If you were a Jeff Murphy fan, the 4 best songs would be Jeff, because each of them just brought the
really
goods.
Talented.
But they also brought a lot to each other's music. Yeah. So, you're going to hear something that's very definitely, let's say, for example, a John Murphy song, and it's got his, he has a certain songwriting style and a certain singing style. But you're going to hear these great harmonies from Gary and Jeff, and you're going to hear the guitar work of Gary and Jeff that, kicks it up a level. And then same thing with the other
John's bass playing too was very distinctive.
Yeah. And just really absolutely wonderful band. The highlight of the pre-Elektra career was the album Black Vinyl Shoes, which was an independently released album.
Yeah, my
PVC, PVC Records eventually reissued it, but they put it out themselves
Right.
with a different cover, and it's an album that is equally melodic and haunting. You know, the fact that it's an independent album, you know, they recorded it essentially in their garage, and it's just, I mean, the greatness of the album is not just what's there, but what's you know, what's there that you can't hear. It's what you can feel, and it's really, really a haunting record.
It's got a great character to it, that album.
Yes, absolutely.
You couldn't improve it if you did it professionally. It just wouldn't be the same record.
It wouldn't have the same vibe. I think
No.
it's like capturing lightning in a bottle with, I think, that record. And you know what I wanted to mention, Stephen, when you were talking about that? I thought you were describing the Beatles there for a minute. I'm not saying the Shoes are the Beatles, but you can see where they probably patterned themselves off of them. Of course, you know, these guys love the British invasion, you know, big into the British invasion. You can't help but see that, you know. But yeah.
But did you just call them the Shoes a moment ago?
What did I say?
How dare you?
The Shoes.
Did I say the Shoes?
You yeah.
Well,
it's sweet, not the sweet.
I've seen it say the Sweet.
Yeah, early on, I think they were.
Yeah. But after Black Vinyl Shoes, they got such a big buzz. You know, and press was great on that record. And they signed to Elektra. So they were shipped over to England to record their first album. And that album is
Present Tense.
An amazing, amazing album.
It is amazing.
But I want to tell you why it means so much to me, but I want you guys to talk first. This isn't my show.
I'm going to throw it over to Richard first, because that's how we do it on this show.
Well, when I first heard Present Tense, I wasn't that impressed, to be honest, because I had Black Vinyl Shoes, which a friend of mine who owned a secondhand record store, actually, he was a guy that used to be in a quite respected indie band back in the 90s called the Hummingbirds. You ever heard of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His name was Simon. Yeah. Simon was his name. Sadly passed away a few years ago. He owned a second. I used to go there on my days off every weekend, and it was when I was first getting into the whole power pop thing. And he said, "Have you ever heard of Shoes?" And I said, "I think I remember seeing a review for their Stolen Wishes album in Rolling Stone. You know that album, Stolen Wishes?"
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I remember seeing the cover of it, thinking, what tragic haircuts. They were 80s haircuts at the time. But the review interested me because at that time I thought there wasn't really many bands doing the whole pop thing at the time. It's kind of became this lost cult movement, the power pop thing. And that interests me, all things like that. And he said, he had a copy of this is where I got it from, his shop.
Oh.
And he said, this was recorded at home. And I said, oh, really? And it's got like in the liner notes, it tells you all about it. And because I am totally into like indie, it's basically like one of the first indie pop albums, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, if you think about it, yeah.
Self albums. And I loved it. I just used to play it all the time. It's just great. I mean, the songwriting's fantastic. It's got like a real vibe to it. And but then I got Present Tense, and I thought the sound of it was a bit too soft. I thought the drums were too soft. But over the years, it's grown on me. And the more I've just gotten to Shoes in general, I can't imagine not listening to it now. I mean, the songs are all great. I just thought that the drums were a bit too light. It didn't have enough guts to it. That was my my little beef with it. But apart from that, I love it now, and I love the next two as well. But,
I'm just wondering.
I think the songwriting on it's just great.
Well, I'm just wondering, since it's their first album, do they maybe didn't? Well, if you get up to Boomerang, things get a lot slicker, and I think much more polished. This almost sounds like, well, this isn't that far off from Black Vinyl Shoes, as far as I'm concerned. You know, if you listen to it,
if you listen to the demos, actually of the Boomerang songs, I think it's the Boomerang songs, the demos.
Well, this is produced by Mike Stone. So,
Mhm.
you know, and
Oh, there you go. That's right. Yeah.
he did New England around that same time. It doesn't really sound like a Mike Stone production to me, but I don't know.
He had a lot to do in the liner notes in this. He really took hold though of the sound a lot, and they kind of let him take the reins.
Now,
But if you the liner notes in this are quite interesting actually, the
Yeah.
history of how they got signed to Elektra and everything.
yeah,
Because they released that single of Tomorrow Night on Bomp Records, that got a bit of attention. Do you like the version of that? The Bomp Records version of Tomorrow Night?
I really like that version, and I love the version of OK on the B
So do
side.
I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thing about this album, now, number one, if you go to shoeswire.com, which is the website, there is a book that Jeff Murphy wrote about the making of this album.
No,
So you can read that. And there's also a book out there called Boys Don't Lie, which is a history of the band.
yeah,
So
I've seen that on Amazon.
So is that like
a
is that a book to purchase?
Yeah,
I
on Amazon.
I don't know, or
Yes.
is it just it's okay? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear the stories
yeah.
about
It's
that.
got like a picture of them standing in front of the sea or something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Boys Don't Lie
Yeah.
book. But the I forgot the name of Jeff Murphy's book, but it's about making present tense. And
Okay.
there's they missed a flight, and that flight ended up
Crashing. Yeah.
Well,
which
good
is,
thing they missed it. I think I've read that story somewhere.
But there's just let me get I'll talk less a little bit later, maybe. But
No, you're all right.
Now, first off, in the box set, you get not only the album on the CD, but you also get the entire album in demo form.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like an extra added bonus. And the demos actually sound kind of closer to Black Vinyl Shoes.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I kind of meant.
Yeah. All their demos too, I've
Yeah.
noticed.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to all the albums that are demoed, they all had that Black Vinyl Shoes sound to them.
But just let me say, the reason I got into this album so heavily. Now, first off, there's songs like 3 Times, which starts off with these haunting vocals and stuff like that recall 10cc, I'm Not in Love. But in 77 or whatever, I first started dating this girl, junior high school, right? My first girlfriend. It went on for 2.5 years. We are talking, I was, and you at that age, when you're in a relationship for 2.5 years, you think that the other person is going to be as devoted to you and as into the relationship as you are. Well, I found out during a phone call when she broke up with me that she was not into that relationship like I was after 2.5 years. Broke my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have told me, you could have waited 2.5 years to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. Just devastated me to what. So one day I'm in Licorice Pizza and I see a brand new album. Or Licorice Pizza, by the way, is a chain store, a record chain store that was here in California, long gone. But I see this album by Shoes, and it had just been released within maybe the last week or two. So I saw this one was fresh, and I just go, you know what? Back then I was buying anything that looked like it might be cool. Because I was experimenting. I was taking my allowance or my Jack in the Box money, whatever, and spending it. So I bought this, just like I bought the Beat, just like I bought 2020, things like that. I bought this. I took it home. For the first time, when I heard the songs, and the songs about love and lost love, stuff like that, it was an album that I had instantly connected to, because it's an album that almost like a diary of a relationship. Even though it's 3 different people writing songs, they're all writing songs about girls and about relationships, stuff like that. And it was an album that I connected to and got me through that period.
Yeah. One thing about
go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I don't think the Shoes have ever though written a happy love song. Every single song they write is conflicted. It's romantic struggle, romantic angst. The battle of the sexes. A song like Every Girl on that album, which is one of my favorites. Why should you be different? Every girl I've ever known. I'm just like, there's so much angst in their songs.
Yeah, and
at times their songs are almost kind of like, almost slightly on the vindictive side when you listen to some of it.
but that's real life. I mean,
I know.
They're not painting it. They're singing it like they feel it. They're living it, and and we get to live vicariously through their music,
Yeah.
or we get to relate to their music.
And they're also kind of really
you know,
regular type of guys too, weren't they?
Yeah.
They just seemed like regular dudes you'd know living up the street, you know, and
Yeah,
they were just
exactly.
singing about normal concerns, but they were very talented.
Yeah, just great songwriters, all three of them.
Mm.
And
the other thing we're talking about, I've got to stop interrupting. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Richard gets all worked up. He gets all worked up.
When I start, I can't stop.
I can't stop.
I relate it to a band like I'm a huge fan of a Scottish group, indie Scottish group from the 90s onwards called Teenage Fan Club.
Yeah,
they had three singer-songwriters in their group, who were all talented. I mean, maybe one was a couple of more talented than one of the others, but they managed to share the songwriting evenly eventually throughout their albums, but they had a homogenous sound. You know, it was still sounded like a band. That's what Shoes are like. Even though each songwriter has their own distinctive take and their own distinctive way of singing, it still sounds like Shoes. None of the songs jut out or sound out of place. It sounds very much like Shoes.
And it doesn't really matter who's singing. The whole band has a certain tonality to it that you can, it's instantly recognizable. The guitar tones, you know, obviously the vocals and the vocal harmonies, I think. You know?
I was just say the vocal blend in those harmonies, I think is as distinctive as Wings. When you listen to Wings, they have a distinctive harmony, which is Paul, Linda, and Denny. Right. That's really the main thing. It's a very distinctive sound that you only find on Wings records. Shoes have a very distinctive sound that you only find on Shoes records.
And apparently, though, that until they started getting into the studio with, who was the producer of the Present Tense album again? I can't remember.
Mike Stone.
He's a producer as well as the engineer. Okay. Apparently, it was him that brought out the harmonies. Apparently, they weren't really that into pushing the harmonies at the start. It was really because of his encouragement that it became a part of their sound. Because if you listen to the previous albums, there's not really that much harmonies going on at all. It was not until you get to Present Tense you really get
right. But Present Tense is a lovely record. One night,
I like it a lot now.
There was this early, you know, cable TV and internet is huge now, but back in 79, 80, there's this thing called On TV, which was like the very, very early cable. And there was also HBO TV and On TV and Select TV, I think. And On TV, you know, they would show movies. So one night we're watching, you know, the family, my family, you know, my mom, dad, brothers, sisters, we're watching a movie. And after the movie ends, it's not going to be another 10 minutes before the next movie starts. So what do? They fill up in between each movie with music videos.
Oh.
And this is before MTV. And so what comes on? In My Arms Again by Shoes and Too Late by Shoes. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you know, because I'm like totally into it. And my sister Dana's going, you know, watching Jeff sing In My Arms Again and going, oh, he's so cute, you know.
I remember being surprised at seeing Shoes videos. I didn't know until later on that they made videos. Only those four, though.
But weren't they some of the first videos on MTV along with, you know, the Buggles and
according to the liner notes of the box set, they are.
Yeah.
Which is weird that they didn't do better, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they didn't become a bit more popular.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say real quick, how I found this record is that back in I bought it on cassette and it was in the cutout bins. Must have been 82, 83. And the reason it's kind of the similar story that you had, Steve, is that you looked at the cover and you go, oh, wow, those guys look kind of cool. I wonder what that sounds like, you know? I mean, it looks like something that I might want to listen to. That's what I got turned on to. But I mean, like I said, I've been listening to this record since, like 82. You know, Tomorrow Night, Too Late. I mean, the sequencing on this record is top notch. And like I said before, the vocals, the instrumentation, it's very accessible. There was something that I was looking up today that I just want to share. I've got the Rolling Stone record guide here, and they've reviewed this record. And they basically said, what do they say? I can't see it.
Yeah, they got good reviews. I think it was
not here.
David
they didn't.
Or someone like that. Oh, not that one. Oh, okay.
No, this is what they said. They said AOR bore. There's nothing here
Oh,
that
yeah, I think
Brad didn't do better. They gave the two, they gave Present Tense and Tongue Twister 1 star apiece. Now I'm thinking that
Well,
seems pretty harsh, but you
that
might.
is harsh. That's just somebody in a bad mood.
Well,
But
with
it's in
Rolling
the era of
Stone, you
punk
never.
rock too. Didn't this
Right.
album came out in the total era of punk rock?
Well, post punk.
So they would probably considered uncool.
This would be more new
was it
wave.
70? What?
Let me
Yeah.
focus.
They don't sound new wave though. I don't think.
No, not at all. But let me focus on one song. I think
Sure.
it is the highlight of the album.
Okay.
We're talking on an album full of highlights. We're talking, this has Tomorrow Night, this has Too Late, this has In My Arms Again. Somebody Has What I Had.
Cruel You.
Cruel You. Yeah, all the stuff. But the song that just fills me with so much passion and joy is a song called 3 Times.
Yeah.
Which is essentially, it's a 3-minute song, and each band member gets about a minute. And it's like 3 unfinished songs that they link together. It's like their side 2 of Abbey Road, except a lot shorter. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
Each of them have incredible, I mean, to jam such wonderful melodies and harmonies and stuff in a 3-minute song is just stunning. Absolutely.
I really
stunning.
love the acoustic parts on Present Tense, like Your Very Eyes. I love that song. It's really nice.
Oh, Your Very Eyes, one of their best. This album was the last time they would really use acoustic guitars as a dominant instrument.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, this song's like 3 minutes and 54 seconds of pop bliss. And what a way to, did that end the record? I think that was the last song, wasn't it?
What are we talking about? The song 3 Times?
I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
God,
and that's probably one of the fastest kind of, that's probably the most almost new wave sounding song. And it's got that faster feel to it. You can imagine like a power pop new wave band doing that. I don't want to hear it.
Well, I think, I mentioned the Rolling Stone interview. I think they were a bit harsh on it. I think the shoe stuff over the time period, I think people have looked back on it and are much more appreciative of it. And I think most of this stuff now gets 4-star, 3-star reviews. I know Present Tense definitely is a 4-star record. Hell, I would probably give it 5 stars, but I'm being conservative on it.
I think there'll be a reappraisal of Shoes one day and realize how great
I think
they were. They were the ultimate, pop tunesmiths who really knew how to write a great pop song.
Yeah,
I'd like that to happen while they're still alive.
Yeah.
I think
Present Tense. I mean, those box sets help me. Sorry.
Well, I think the box sets probably. I mean, look, they've already sold out. I'm sure that was, probably did wonders for the band, I would imagine, Did
you know, Grant, there was one song that was meant to go on Present Tense called Jet Set, written by Gary Glebe, but he wasn't happy with it, or he didn't think it belonged. The other members apparently wanted it on the album, but he protested and he got his way. But it's there's a couple of different versions. There's a demo version. There's one they recorded at the same sessions at the studio. Pretty good song, but I can see why he didn't want it on there because it's not as instantly hooky as the others.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we can all agree that this is a great record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Tongue
years.
Twister. So this was the follow-up. Now we don't have Mike Stone on this one. This is produced by if you ever heard Rumors.
Richard Dashut or Dashut or something.
Dashut, the same gentleman who produced Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, and he also produced some Matthew Sweet record, Altered Beast. It all comes back to Matthew Sweet sometimes on this program. But anyway, this is the second album, and I must say, I like this just as much as probably Present Tense. There is no sophomore slump here. Don't believe those Rolling Stone interviews of 1 star, kids. Don't believe that. I think this is a fine record.
Beast.
Different beast, different producer. What do you expect? Where did they record this? Did they record this in the States? I can't remember.
Yeah, this was in the States. Present Tense, they recorded in England, but this was back in the States.
Engineered Hernan Rojas. This was recorded at Western in Hollywood, June through August of 1980. I think it sounds great. I don't know.
Again, in the box set, the CD does have the full album and then the full album in demo form.
Yeah.
This album rocks considerably harder than the first.
It's heavy. Well, I mean, we got On Your Imagination, we've got fuzz bass, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Which is
some
great.
of the tracks sound like they've got synthesizer on them, but they're not. It's just
then they start using synths on Boomerang.
Yeah, they do definitely on that album. Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, Grant.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we get it done in an hour, boys.
He's got an active mind.
Done in an hour. But
an hour of power.
But Your Imagination's pure power pop. I think that's great. Burned Out
I think
Love.
girls are,
Holy crap, Burned Out Love. Great song.
I mean, to me, the shining moment has to be Karen.
Oh my
Things You
gosh.
Do, Karen.
Great song.
Which song?
I can't believe that wasn't a hit. I mean, how could a record company hear a song like that and not release it and just it becomes a hit? It's like an anthem. An anthem for adolescent desire.
Yeah, but
I
don't
also Only in My Sleep with a 12 string and
Well, Karen, but think about this. This isn't really like anything that was on the radio at this time. I mean, if these guys would have been around in the 60s and put out this stuff back then.
But there was plenty of kind of ballads happening in the 70s.
Yeah, but I don't remember anything like this being on the radio. This is far beyond any of that crap that was on the radio. And I like some of the crap, don't get me wrong. But I just don't see how any of this would fit in here in the States.
Elektra just didn't give him a chance.
Elektra maybe Elektra didn't know quite what to do with him. They knew they wanted to sign him. Maybe, I don't know.
If you read the liner notes, have you read the liner notes, Steve, to these box sets?
Yeah.
It seemed that every time there was a chance to help Shoes, something happened where the Elektra thought it wasn't worth spending the money or something.
Exactly.
Well,
they could have tried harder.
If you don't have the backing from the record company. Well, if you know anything about the whole thing I had Scott Byron interview where we were talking about Matthew Sweet. With Elektra and a lot of these labels, the people that champion you and sign you, there's a lot of turnover in these labels. Now, I don't know who signed Shoes, and I didn't say the Shoes. You're welcome. You don't know.
I think Jeff, John, and Gary thank you too.
Well, I'm not exactly sure who signed them. Okay. So
if you guys end up watching this,
you get a lot of turnover in these record companies, and your champion often goes on to another position or a new gig. And then, like in Matthew Sweet's situation, when he was on A&M, Girlfriend sat in the can for a year.
Yeah.
Girlfriend was recorded for A&M. And Zoo just happened, Scott Byron happened to bring it over to Zoo. It was a matter of luck. Now, who knows what went on behind with Shoes? Because, they could have had a change in their champion might have left, but I don't know. Well, I should read those books.
Well, also, let me tell you this. I'm not really into self-promotion because your channel is marvelous.
Oh my God. Promote away for God's sakes.
But Ronnie Barnett from the Muffs is a friend of mine, and both of us interviewed John, Jeff, and Gary in a 2-part interview on my channel. Okay. So you can go watch that.
I'll put that link. All right, kids, just to let everyone know when you're watching this, I'm going to put the link to that video down below when I post it. So check out Steve's interview with the Shoes members. And
live on Zoom or something.
No, we're not live, but it might.
No. I said the interview that Steve did with the members of Shoes, was it like a live Zoom or something like that?
It was a live. Well, it was a Zoom interview that we were pre-recorded. That I edited it. It's in 2 parts. So
I'll put the link in
first
there.
Part. Yeah, the first part I think goes up to the Elektra albums, and then the second part goes to whatever. But what I want to mention, though, we're talking about radio.
Okay.
Hey ROQ in LA, which is the influential new wave radio station at the time. They played the hell out of She Satisfies. That got a lot of airplay. In fact, I think I think the single might have been She Satisfies Back with Karen, which would have been the greatest double A side ever.
Yeah.
Well, I can see Rodney Bingenheimer really supporting this band. I don't know if he did back there.
I don't think he did. I think it was a little too clean for him.
Really?
A little too
I'll
clean
be
for him.
damned. Oh.
He may have played them, but not a heck of a lot.
She Satisfies is a great rock song. Great riff.
It is, absolutely. Yeah.
So what are you?
Yeah.
Since we're going, what are your general thoughts, gentlemen, on this record as opposed to present tense?
I find it pretty flawless.
Just a little bit different.
I love it. I think it's just every single song is great. I love the way they're progressing. These guys had such great expertise and a knack for using the studio, and you can hear the progression in this album. They're just improving. The sonics are improving. The arrangements are pretty flawless as far as I can see. They deliver the hooks as usual. Good variety of different styles, everything from real great rock songs to, obviously ballady stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, their lyrics are always really great too. Like I was talking before about how they always write songs about romantic conflict and the battle of the sexes. They always write, great lyrics about that. They should have done much better with this album.
I think this album, in particular, from the inside out, it's Shoes. It's coming from the same place that Present Tense came from. From the outside in, which is more the sonic sound, it's coming from a different place.
Okay.
And so where you got airy and atmospheric on Present Tense, they kind of wiped that away a little bit. Their harmonies were still there. They weren't as thick, they weren't this engulfing everything, and it was far more in your face. And again, with Present Tense, I was surprised as hell that there was nothing that really got a lot of airplay on that. I was overjoyed when I'd be riding around with my friends and She Satisfied would come on. I'd be going, "This is that band, Shoes," right? And it got played. It was at least medium rotation or medium high, and it's a different beast, but it's obviously from these same four guys. And just Gary, John, and Jeff, amazing songwriters.
But also the production had a lot to do with the record company trying to get them to come up with a hit. So obviously this is more radio friendly, and I think the drum sound I love the drum sound much better on this. And to me, the drums are so muted on the first Present Tense. This is much more powerful. Like listen to She Satisfies. Those really. What do you call it? I forgot what the technical term is, but the drums are far more forceful.
Yeah.
I think this record sounds better.
Record. Yeah. Tongue Twister is really their first defining moment as a power pop band. The other two, I think, are just two of the greatest pop albums of the era. In fact, of a lot of the bands that we love, Shoes were putting out some of the best albums, period, and the best songs. But this, I think, when people talk about power pop, this is an album that you say, yeah, this is Shoes in power pop mode. This is them, with their guitar set to stun.
Yeah. To me, Girls of Today, record. That song to me is just like totally fits in with the whole power pop thing. Great chorus.
I'm just curious, Richard, while I'm thinking about it, are those U.S. domestic pressings, or were those Australian pressings that you've got?
This is a promotional copy, Tongue Twister. This is just, I haven't looked actually. They're probably just Australian as the Elektra label.
What were they on in Australia? What were the labels?
This is Elektra. They're all Elektra.
Oh, okay.
The Boomerang one is the red Elektra label.
Okay.
This one is the I think it's the white one. Let's have a look.
Yeah,
there you go, the white one.
Look at that. Oh, that is a promo. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's a
look
promo.
At you.
Oh, is it a promo? Oh, well,
that's a promo.
Is that rare now, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather
Elektra,
have a promo than not a promo.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have it on vinyl than not have it on vinyl. I mean, I don't see any Shoes albums in the secondhand record stores. When I first bought these albums when I used to hang out, like, 10 years ago in the record stores or whatever. I used to see Present Tense all the time.
Yeah.
I don't see it at all anymore.
I don't look, but I haven't seen it.
It was the most common shit. It's like I can't believe I've got this.
Oh wow.
I've got that too, but I didn't pull it.
I'm one of the few Australians I think have actually got this album.
I might have that on CD though. Can't remember.
And this is the reissue of one of Versailles that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what year it was.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think we can all agree that this is a great record.
Yes.
Anybody
I love
else?
it, yeah.
You love it. All right. Anybody have anything else to add? And we can go on to Boomerang.
Let's go on to Boomerang.
Let's do.
I want to go into Boomerang. I think I've listened.
So
to
this
it
is the
more
next
than any
record
other
after
album.
that. Have you ever seen the promo?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
promo with the promo copy of that on the record with the record?
I had the white label.
No, I didn't-
I had the
Okay.
white label version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this I don't think's a promo. No, this is just red label.
No,
But I have
my Shoes
never-
on Ice I bought separately. I had
Okay.
to buy the Shoes on Ice separately. I found it in a bin, and I think I may have crapped my pants when I saw it. I don't remember.
Well, believe it or
probably
not, I saw a promo copy, white label promo with Shoes on Ice with it, but it wasn't cheap. And I went, I didn't buy it.
Yeah, my Shoes on Ice was separate. Mine did not
Mhm.
come with Shoes on Ice.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
before
well.
the record company threatened to sue if they didn't pull it? Because that's what it says in the liner notes.
Well, see,
they released it.
it's the record company that put it out as
Yeah.
a promo.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was an Elektra promo.
Yeah.
But maybe
must have been someone else at the label that threatened to take legal action then.
yeah, maybe they maybe Shoes snuck into the warehouse and grabbed a bunch of promos and started selling them. But no,
Yeah.
Well,
but no,
they
it
might have.
they should have.
Wow.
But yeah, Boomerang is the next one.
Boomerang's the next one. This was a little bit, well, I don't know. My thoughts on this one. I like
Most 80s sounding.
it's a little bit more I guess I don't know if it's
80s
more
sounding.
80s sound. It's just a little bit more polished. It seems like with each album they get a little bit more polished, but I don't think any of the songwriting really suffers. For me, I almost could take all these records and just throw them up in the air and play them the way they land, because a lot of these songs just kind of all fit together to some degree. But Inner Shadow's great. What? Go ahead.
But not sonically, they don't fit together. Like
They
if
don't,
you grab the
no.
first three, if you grab the first three Stranglers albums or the first three Buzzcocks albums, you could literally take something off the third Buzzcocks album, put it on the first album, and you're not going to know it's from a different period. I mean, us nerds will, but Shoes, each album was sonically different. Like I said, it's coming from within. It's the same exact band. They're writing these wonderful songs and they're working together. The chemistry. I'm not going to. Let's just put Skip Meyer, the drummer, aside just for a second.
Okay.
And I'm not saying anything bad about Skip. I mean, rest his soul. But these three, the chemistry between John, Jeff, and Gary is incredible. It's like the chemistry. Again, I'm not comparing it with the Beatles. It's like that Lennon, McCartney, Harrison chemistry.
Right.
It's like, the chemistry you're going to find in bands that it just works. Jeff has recorded solo, and each of them have maybe worked on other things, but when they come together, Jeff did the Nurk Twins with Herb Imerman, and great stuff. But when he's with when Jeff is with John and Gary, it's magic.
Didn't he work with Butch Vig's band, early band as well? Butch Vig
Jeff
was
produced
in a band. Yeah,
he produced Spooner,
that's right.
And he produced the first Material Issue album.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah.
Well, I guess what I was trying to say, I could take them, throw them all together, but they still distinctly sound like Shoes. That's what I really mean.
Yes.
You know, you could
Yes.
interchange them to some degree, the records, but you still know it's Shoes. Now, some of those 80s bands, they morphed into something else that you don't even recognize from like the 70s or the late 70s. Shoes still up into this time, and even their later records still have that identifiable tonality that you know. I think this record,
I think we'd be a bit worried if they changed.
Well,
Sorry.
Cheap Trick changed quite a bit that didn't jive with me.
Yeah, well.
But I wanted to say this, the song Curiosity that's on Boomerang, it almost seems like the band, I know you mentioned that Tongue Tied was probably their power pop
Tongue Twister
record, Tongue Twister. But on Boomerang, it seems like we're going more for like a jangle pop kind of thing. Would you agree to that or no? Or there's more jangle pop elements as opposed to...
No, it's not jangle pop to me. Sorry.
I don't know.
It's
you
too,
listen to Curiosity, it
it's
sure sounds jangle pop to me.
Yeah,
More
jangle pop to
REM
me is a
like.
bit more looser or a bit more... No,
The Summer Rain
it's
is very
slick.
jangle.
Yeah.
The Summer Rain is kind of jangle.
But it's more REM like. I don't want to say it's REM because this predates
Really?
REM.
No. I'm a big REM fan. I wouldn't compare it to REM at all. Sorry. To me,
But you got synths on this one.
REM are far more underground sounding and very raw. Like this album is really well produced, and it's definitely them going.
Who produced this?
The hit.
I forgot. I
I'm
should have
looking.
done my...
You can't remember at all. Engineer and produced by Shoes.
Shoes produced
okay.
it.
See the
engineer and associate producer Hank
Neuberger.
Neuberger.
Thing about this record, I think, is it takes like whereas Tongue Twister was kind of a stripping away of present tense.
Okay.
And I mean stripping away the layers of present tense. So it was like fewer layers. This kind of added a fewer more layers, but different layers. It added, there was that sense of you say slick, I say just more using, they're moving with technology per se.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're embracing technology. I think it might even be recorded in digital.
I'm surprised that Elektra let them produce it.
Elektra probably just thought like, these guys
they've given up on them probably.
Yeah. And when I say Elektra saying that, it's like, to me, I mean, we listen to the stuff and it's gold, but we're three people. They're thinking like, God, we got to go out. We got to sign the next Peebo Bryson.
Well, exactly.
And,
yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong. Again, I'm not knocking Peebo Bryson, but
we love his
work. That's where the money was.
Right. There's a moment in the liner notes where one of the executives of the record company or something had something to do with a hit that was really big at the time, and I can't remember the name of the person, the singer, but it sounded a lot like What a Fool Believes. It's almost like a rewrite. And that's the kind of sound the record company wanted them to go for. It's like, right, as if they were going to do that.
There were certain
labels, but I mean,
go ahead.
But I mean, like, to me, this album is definitely them going for modern technology, and that's why I think it's the most 80s sounding. It sounds like an 80s album to me when I first put it on. It sounds like a lot of the pop bands I got into.
I think it doesn't sound so 80s. It doesn't have those
It doesn't sound 70s, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that production, those big drums, those big, gated drums.
But what about a track like The Tube with all that big synth sound? And I mean, that sounds to me it's almost like it's kind of like a transition from the late 70s to the 80s, I think this album. It's not totally 80s, but it's showing that transition into more real compressed kind of production that's really up front, but there's no kind of detail. Everything's really up front with the sound. Everything's together. You don't hear a lot of subtlety.
Yeah, if you think about Elektra, they didn't have a lot of luck with power poppy or new wavy type things. They came from the Doors and a lot of the
Queen,
the Cars.
Queen, the
Cars.
Well, okay, the Cars.
Yeah,
Another
the
kind of
Cars,
copy.
they
There goes
were-
my theory.
I just blew your theory out the window.
Yeah, no, but Elektra, the label, Elektra and Asylum were known for more of, oh gosh, what do you call that?
California
where,
Easy, like
yeah,
Linda
yeah,
Ronstadt
where,
and that kind of stuff. Warren Zevon, Jackson Brown.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The Eagles.
right.
That's the kind of stuff. Like when Badfinger signed to Elektra, and they put out an album in 1979 called Airwaves. Instead of pulling in some producer, they pulled in David Malloy to produce their album, and David Malloy was like better known for producing like Eddie Rabbitt or somebody like that. So that's why that album didn't rock the way it should have.
That sounds like some kind of Californian album or something.
Yeah,
doesn't sound like Badfinger at all.
Yeah, but I do love it though. I saw him on that tour.
It's not bad.
I don't have it. I need to get it though.
It's got
only got
Love is
8 songs on it.
It's got Love Is Gonna Come at Last, Lost Inside Your Love, Look Out California, some of their best songs in my opinion. But I think that because Elektra already had a certain thing, like A&M and Arista weren't very good with new wavy type bands. And I think Elektra had a difficult, maybe when Elektra signed them, they were hoping they were going to be like the new Cars. Even though they still had Cars. I mean, everybody was, signing. Do you remember the Elevators and the Rings and all these bands got signed because they were quirky pop like the Cars. And maybe Elektra was hoping these guys were, but these guys just, like I said, 3 great singers.
Yeah, but we're talking. Wait a minute. That first album. Wait a minute. Remind me again. Present Tense came out. What was that? 80? Wait a minute.
No, 77, wasn't it?
No, 79.
79. Now that goes right
79.
into. We've talked about this before, Stephen,
Yeah, I got it
about the
wrong.
whole knack thing, where they were trying to find these bands. 2020 got signed. Were Shoes one of those bands that were one of those bands they were trying to sign, like the Knack, to get their own Knack? Could it be? It's all.
I think so, but they had their own Cars. But if you really look at it, if you really look at that time period, it was an amazing time for pop bands. But I think that we were so inundated with so many great bands that they were getting lost. I think Shoes got lost. I think because I can't say.
Well, they got lost. That's for sure. Yeah.
You can't just blame it on a record company either, though. I mean, Shoes, I don't think were the kind of guys that were into self-promotion. They were pretty down to earth kind of normal guys. They weren't the kind of guys to put themselves out there or prostitute themselves for, success.
Yeah, exactly.
They
were regular guys, is basically what it
I mean, look at them. They were just wearing plain old shirts and there's no dye or mohawks or anything.
Yeah. Another band that I sort of compared to this. You guys remember the synth pop duo Naked Eyes?
I love Naked Eyes.
Any of their videos? If you look at any of their videos or pictures, they're just 2 regular dudes.
Yeah.
And Shoes is kind of like that too. Regular guys. And people were looking for something flashy. But what do you think would have happened with this band had they signed to Sony? What would have happened if had they signed to Capitol or maybe Warner Brothers instead of Elektra?
They might have had might have been a different outcome. You don't know. You'll never know now.
Yeah. At the same time, what if they're thrown in the studio with David Malloy, who produced Eddie Rabbitt? Maybe they wouldn't have lasted past their first album. I mean, I think though, in the end, I love this band and they should be held up on a pedestal as a prime example of a band with wonderful chemistry and right up there with the greatest, in my opinion.
But they should also be regarded as one of the first do-it-yourself bands as well.
Yes, exactly.
I agree.
I mean, but the thing is, they're just great. They're a band that really understand what makes a great pop song.
Yeah,
they know how to craft the perfect hook. I mean, some people are just born to do a certain type of music. You get people who are like great blues rock guitar players. jazz players, whatever. These guys are just pure pop.
Yeah.
They understand.
Yeah.
They're born to make that kind of music.
Yeah, the box set.
Yeah,
the
I've
box
got-
set, by the way, has one more disc with rarities. And the great thing, though, about shoes, and this will be, I think, probably my last. No, it won't be my last statement. You guys know me.
No, well, we're gonna wrap it up here because
Yeah.
you did already have a perfect ending, but keep going. We're all right.
Yeah, but now I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about the rarities CD.
Okay, no, the rarities. I had something just glorious to say, and I forgot.
Oh, for God's sakes!
Yeah,
It'll
say
come
it.
So
back.
let me
We
say
can
my
end
thing
on
about
that.
Boomerang while I got a chance. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
You're
ahead.
going to end then, were you?
No. Go ahead. Well, we're gonna wrap it
Well,
up.
Boomerang is the album that when I listened to it, I used to just listen to it mainly in the mornings. I don't know why. It's a great morning album. But when I was a pop-loving kid and I just loved pop music, I used to listen to this album and think, this is the kind of band that I would have got obsessive about when I was 16 or 17, if they were big. And I just used to listen to it and I think, why has this band never had even anything remotely resembling a hit? They're just so obscure. I mean, it's, and but some of my favorite tracks on this, I love Too Soon. That's a real favorite of mine.
Yes.
I love Double Talk, which is actually apparently a dig at the record company, messing them around. I love The Tube, which is a lot of fun. Under the Gun, what a great opener to side 2. Tested Charts, it's great. I just love this album. I love the sound of it. It's just I love the strong, really loud compression of it. It's a really loud album. It's an album that should have been a hit, and I don't know why. It's disgraceful. Elektra, how could you hear an album like this and not at least try to get a couple of great singles off it? It's beyond me.
Great thing.
It's almost like, why do they bother signing them in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't going to make
Exactly.
it successful.
But the great thing when you listen to shoes, or not even listen, when you look at the song titles, they're such a great band that you can go through and read every song title and the chorus plays in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, you could play this medley of choruses as you're reading the song titles because you they're songs that stick with you and
Curiosity. Stop
yeah,
your
40
double
years
talk.
later. Yeah, 40 years later, they're still stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I think the songs still stand up. And like you said, I don't think any of the production really dates it. You might say that this sounds some 80s, but you don't have any weird drum sounds. I don't really hear anything, It's like Matthew Sweet
there's not much
Girlfriend.
near-
Sounds like it
yeah.
could have been recorded yesterday,
Yeah.
But whatever.
Although
I still think
except
it's
for his
great.
first album, that Inside album, it's got just about every 80s cliche on it.
Well,
one?
Somewhere else.
Inside.
Matthew Sweet's first album, Inside, it's just totally like, it's got every treatment you can think of from the 80s.
my favorite
Just every reverb,
yeah. My favorite Matthew Sweet song is Easy.
Oh, off,
And
Oh,
I
that-
think, yeah,
off of Earth.
Yeah.
yeah.
Look
Yeah,
at you. Well, it's a great song. No, it's a great song.
it
When
is.
Yeah,
But
I
we're on a
like
tangent.
Earth a lot more than I did before these days.
Mhm.
In fact, I could credit Grant when he did one of the first discussions you did was the first 2 Matthew Sweet albums.
Yeah.
That got me back into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time. All right, gentlemen. Do you
I
have
can't
anything
remember
else?
that awesome thing. Yeah, I can't remember that.
It
awesome.
may come to you while I'm doing my
observation.
closing. It might.
Okay.
Well, thank you for including me in this discussion.
Well,
I
of
love shoes.
course. I want to thank
And it was
both of
great hanging with
gentlemen.
you, Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Hopefully, we'll do another thing soon. I'm sure there's lots of Australian bands you're into that I'm into.
Oh, yeah.
You like the Hoodoo
There's-
Gurus, don't you? I wouldn't mind doing a discussion.
I don't have all the stuff. So,
Well, the first 2 albums are
yeah.
2 or 3 albums.
Yeah.
are
Which
good enough
one's got the
stuff.
dinosaur on the cover? Is that the first one?
First one, Stone Age Romeos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that.
There's
And
2
the
versions
second
of the
one.
cover though. There's like a.
Mhm.
Actually, I'll show you before we go. Hang on. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Oh, geez.
No, you're all right.
This thing popped in my head, and I was like,
I want
"Oh,
to show you.
I
It
gotta
might.
say
I'm still hoping that it pops in.
Come on, show me.
But anyway, on
Lost
this note,
in time.
I know Richard's
Okay,
pulling
here we
that
go.
record. Okay.
This is the Australian version
I like that version
of
better.
the first one. Yep.
Oh
And
yeah,
this
I've
is
seen
the
that.
international one on the A&M label, which is
Yes.
it's got a different track order.
I've got that.
know?
I got that
second
on
album.
vinyl.
Yes.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
got that. That's a great record.
Marsney's guitars. Third one, Blow Your Cool.
Mhm.
That's another good
and
one.
the fourth one, Magnum Come Louder.
Mm.
Yeah.
And they're all great.
And those
But,
were
as
all
I said,
released.
try to check out Master's Apprentices.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to check out
60s
Masters
band.
Apprentices. Yeah.
All right, boys.
Yeah, I
we got
think
to
you'll
wrap.
really love it.
We're wrapping
Okay,
this one
let's
up.
wrap it up.
Richard Henderson, Stephen Schnee. I want to thank you both for coming on tonight. Well, we're trying to keep these to an hour and
Jazz hands.
talking shoes.
And
not
if any
those
of the
shoes.
members of Shoes are watching this at all, Gary, Jeff, and John, hi, and thank you for the music.
Well done.
I'm going to
well
tag.
put.
I'm going to make sure they see it. I'm going to make sure they see it.
So
You guys
There
are very underrated, and you should have had a hit, at least one
Yeah.
anyway. Or
it is
two.
what it is. All right, gentlemen, we'll see you. And God knows what's next, but I'm sure there's something in the pipeline. So
There's always
please like,
something on your channel,
subscribe.
Grant.
Please check out Steve's channel. Links down below, and I will post the interview, the shoes interview that he had done. Was it a couple years ago? How long ago was that?
Yeah, it was during the pandemic. So
During the
within last 2
pandemic.
years.
So check that out. Please like, subscribe. You know the whole deal. You know the deal now. All right, gentlemen, we'll see you, and wish you guys good night.